The doctor's hands were shaking. That's what I remember most about that moment, not what he said. Not the smell of the examination room or the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead, just his hands trembling against the edge of the desk and the way he leaned toward me like he was afraid someone might hear. My daughter Gloria had stepped out 30 seconds earlier to take a phone call. The door had barely clicked shut when Dr. Philip Garrett pulled off his glasses, rubbed his eyes, and said in a voice barely above a whisper, "Mr. Holloway, you need to get your wife away from your daughter." Immediately. I didn't speak. Couldn't. The medication patterns, he said, the timeline, the rate of decline. I've seen this before, and it is not natural progression. He started to say something else. Then the door opened and Gloria walked back in. Phone already in her pocket. Smile already on her face. "Sorry about that," she said. "Everything okay?" Dr. Garrett straightened up, professional face back on in under a second. "Just reviewing the test results with your father." But I had seen his hands, and I had seen the way Gloria's eyes went straight to those hands before she looked at me, just for a fraction of a second. Then her smile came back, warm and steady, same as always. That was the moment I understood that whatever was happening in my house, I was the last one to know about it. My name is Martin Holloway. I'm 67 years old, retired structural engineer, 38 years in the field. I built my career reading buildings, finding the hidden faults, the load-bearing walls that had quietly started to fail, the foundations that looked solid from the outside but were already cracking underneath. I should have been better at this. That's what I keep coming back to. Carolyn and I have been married 42 years. She spent 30 of those years as a pediatric nurse at Cascade Memorial, the kind of woman who could manage a ward full of sick kids and panicked parents without raising her voice once. Steady, capable, sharp, the woman who did the Sunday crossword in pen every week without looking anything up. The forgetting started about 4 years ago. Small things at first, a name she couldn't place, a grocery item she'd written down and still come home without. I told myself it was nothing. We were both in our 60s. These things happen. Then it got worse. She forgot our grandson Tyler's birthday. She stood in our kitchen one morning and couldn't remember how to use the coffee maker she'd used every day for 2 decades. She'd look at me sometimes with this expression I'd never seen on her face before, confused, a little frightened, like she wasn't quite sure where she was. Every doctor we saw said the same thing: early stage dementia, possible Alzheimer's. We'd need to monitor it, manage it, prepare for it to progress. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? Gloria moved back home about 3 years ago. She'd just finalized a divorce, costly, drawn out, the kind that leaves marks. She needed somewhere to land, and honestly, I needed the help. My consulting work still took me away from home a few times a year, and the idea of Carolyn being alone in the house worried me more than I let on. Gloria took over Carolyn's medications, organized the weekly pill case, drove her to appointments, sat with her in the evenings. The neighbors said what a devoted daughter she was. I said it too. I meant it. When my son Neil called from Denver to check on his mother, I'd tell him Gloria had everything under control. "Don't worry," I'd say. "Your sister is doing everything right. I want to be honest with you about something. The hardest part of all this isn't what Gloria did. It's how easy it was for her to do it, because I handed her every opportunity. I thanked her for it. I told myself I was lucky to have a daughter like her." 3 weeks ago, Neil flew in from Denver. He'd been hearing things in my voice on the phone that worried him, things I hadn't said out loud. The 4 of us, me, Carolyn, Gloria, and Neil, drove out to St. Mary's Medical Center in Olympia to see Dr. Philip Garrett, neurologist, highly recommended by 2 different doctors we trusted. We sat in that examination room for almost an hour. Carolyn answered questions the best she could. Some she got right. Most she didn't. She thought the year was 2021. She couldn't name the sitting president. When Dr. Garrett asked her to count backward from 100 by sevens, she stopped at 93 and looked at me with an apology in her eyes that I will never forget. I sat there and watched my wife fail test after test, while Gloria stood near the window with her arms crossed, patient and attentive, every bit the concerned daughter. Then Gloria's phone buzzed. She excused herself. The door closed, and Dr. Garrett leaned across the desk with shaking hands and told me to get my wife away from my daughter. I drove home that afternoon and said nothing. Gloria sat in the front seat and talked about stopping for dinner on the way. Neil sat in the back with Carolyn, pointing out things along the road to keep her engaged. Trees, a barn, a field of horses she always used to love. I watched Gloria in the passenger seat and thought about everything I'd handed her over the past 3 years. The medications, the schedule, the access, the trust, and I started building a case in my head the same way I'd spent 38 years building everything else, one piece at a time, starting with the foundation. That night I went downstairs for a glass of water and found Gloria in the kitchen. She was standing over Carolyn's weekly pill organizer, dropping tablets into each colored compartment with the kind of practiced efficiency you get from doing something hundreds of times. Nothing unusual about that. I'd seen it 100 times myself, but I'd never watched her face while she did it. She had a small smile, not warm, more like the look of someone checking off an item on a list they've been working through for a long time. I went back upstairs, didn't sleep. The library opened at 9. I was on the steps at 8:40. Lorraine unlocked the door, took one look at me, and didn't ask a single question. Just led me to a research terminal and sat down beside me. I told her I needed information on a medication, diazepam, veterinary grade. Effects on elderly humans with long-term exposure. She pulled up 3 clinical databases and started searching. I want you to understand what it feels like to read a medical study and recognize your wife in every line. Drowsiness, confusion, memory loss, cognitive decline that presents clinically as almost identical to early-stage Alzheimer's disease. Every symptom listed, I had watched happen in real time over 4 years. Every side effect described, I had blamed on aging, on disease, on something nobody could control. Then Lorraine pointed to one line and read it quietly out loud. Cognitive improvement typically begins within 24 to 48 hours of cessation. Reversible. The damage was reversible. If I moved fast enough, I printed everything, folded it into my jacket pocket, and walked 3 houses down to see Howard Paxton. Howard is 76 years old, spent 32 years as a homicide detective with the Seattle PD before he retired and moved in down the street from us. We'd had coffee together dozens of times over the years. He had the kind of stillness that comes from spending 3 decades watching people lie to his face and learning exactly what that looks like. I sat in his kitchen and laid it all out. Hypothetically, I said, if someone discovered a family member was poisoning another family member, what would be the smartest way to handle it? He didn't blink, just set down his cup and said, document everything first. Dates, times, observations. Don't confront anyone until you have proof they can't argue with. He paused, and be careful. People who poison don't usually stop at one victim when they feel cornered. I thanked him and went home. That evening, I went to my workshop in the garage and opened my toolbox. I keep a magnifying loupe in there, the kind I used for 38 years to read engineering blueprints in the field. I brought Carolyn's weekly pill organizer to my workbench and went through it 1 tablet at a time. Blood pressure medication. Cholesterol, a legitimate vitamin supplement. I recognized all of them from years of picking up her prescriptions myself. Then I found one I didn't recognize. Small, white, unmarked, except for a tiny stamp I could barely see with the naked eye. Under the loupe, it was clear enough. DZP-5. Diazepam, 5 milligrams. Not on any prescription I had ever seen for Carolyn. I went back to the medication cabinet and looked more carefully. Behind the row of legitimate bottles, tucked against the back wall, was a small amber bottle with a label that had been partially torn away. What remained said enough. Veterinary use only. I photographed everything. The bottle, the torn label, the pill in the organizer, the loupe sitting next to it for scale. Timestamp on every image. Then I went to the pharmacy and bought 2 different brands of vitamin B supplements, comparing size and color until I found one that matched closely enough to work. Back at my workbench, I spent the better part of 2 hours making the swap. I'm not a pharmacist, but I spent 38 years doing precision work with my hands, measuring tolerances, checking load calculations, verifying that things were exactly what they appeared to be. I ruined several tablets before I got the pressure and the angle right. When I was done, I held the replacement next to one of the originals and compared them under the loupe. Close enough that nobody sorting a weekly pill case in a kitchen would notice the difference. The real tablets went into a sealed plastic bag. I labeled it with the date, the time, and where I had found each pill. I put it in my locked toolbox. Then I reset everything in the cabinet exactly as Gloria had arranged it. Bottle at the same angle, organizer in the same position. I went through the kitchen twice to make sure nothing looked touched. After that, I went to the garage and mounted a small motion-activated security camera behind the cookbooks on the kitchen shelf. It took me 20 minutes. The lens was barely visible, aimed at the counter where Gloria always stood when she prepared Carolyn's medications. Then I went to bed and waited. 36 hours later, Carolyn came downstairs and poured her own coffee. She hadn't done that in 2 years. I had been making it for her every morning because she'd forgotten how the machine worked. That morning, she walked past me, filled her mug, and sat down at the kitchen table like it was the most natural thing in the world. I sat across from her and didn't say anything, just watched. She picked up the crossword puzzle that had been sitting untouched on the table for 2 weeks. Studied it for a minute, then picked up a pen and filled in an answer. 7 across, she said. Renaissance. I've been staring at that one for days. My throat tightened. I took a sip of coffee so she wouldn't see my face. Over the next hour, she filled in 6 more answers. She remembered the name of our neighbor on the left without being prompted. She asked about a book she'd been reading before the fog set in, a book I had packed away 18 months ago because seeing it on her nightstand was too hard. I went to the closet and brought it back. She opened it to the bookmark and started reading, My Wife Reading, following the words on the page and tracking them without losing her place. I went to the bathroom, closed the door, and stood at the sink for a while. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of bacon. Carolyn was at the stove making scrambled eggs, moving around the kitchen with a confidence I hadn't seen in years. She turned when she heard me on the stairs and smiled. "Your favorite," she said. "Sit down." I sat down, and underneath the relief, something cold and very quiet had taken up residence in my chest. Because my wife was coming back, and that meant everything I suspected about how she'd been taken from me was true. I called Neil that evening, told him to come home, didn't explain everything on the phone, just said it was about his mother and it was urgent and I needed him here in person. He was on a flight by the next morning. While I waited, I kept playing my part. When Gloria handed Carolyn her evening pills, I stood in the doorway and said thank you the same way I always had. When Gloria made coffee in the morning, I drank it and said it was good. I asked her where I'd put my reading glasses when I knew exactly where they were. I stood in the hallway one afternoon and pretended to forget which room I was heading to. I watched her watch me, watched her relax. That was the point. If she thought I was starting to slip, she'd get comfortable. And comfortable people get careless. Neil arrived Tuesday afternoon. I took him straight to my workshop in the garage, away from the house. I laid out everything. The pill organizer, the photographs, the printed research from the library, the sealed bag with the original tablets labeled by date and location. I told him about Dr. Garrett's warning. I told him about the camera behind the cookbooks. He sat there for a long time without saying anything. Then he said, "Dad, about 6 months ago I found a text on Mom's phone. It was from Gloria. It said, 'Stop asking questions, trust me.' I thought I was reading it wrong. I deleted it and told myself I was being paranoid. He looked sick saying it. I told him the same thing Howard had told me. You couldn't have known. He didn't look like he believed it. I'm not sure I believed it either, but there wasn't time to sit with that. I told him what I needed him to do." Gloria had left her laptop on the kitchen counter that afternoon. She did that sometimes when she was in a hurry, distracted by something on her phone. Neil wandered in, said he needed to check a flight connection, picked it up like it was nothing. Gloria didn't look twice. He found the emails in under 5 minutes. Ted Rourke, Gloria's boyfriend of about 2 years, a real estate broker working out of Tacoma. The emails in her inbox went back to 2021, more than a year before Gloria ever moved into our house. Property value assessments, comparable sales in our neighborhood, estimated equity on our address, notes about Carolyn's medical history pulled from somewhere I didn't want to think about. Ted Rourke had been researching my family's net worth before he ever introduced himself to my daughter. Neil forwarded everything to his own email, put the laptop back exactly where he'd found it, and came to find me in the backyard. We stood by the fence and he showed me the emails on his phone and neither of us said much for a while. That evening, Gloria came home and walked straight toward the medication cabinet. I stepped into her path. The three of us stood in the kitchen. Gloria's hand still raised toward the cabinet handle. Neil leaning against the counter behind her. Me between them and the cabinet. She looked at my face and knew. I saw it happen in real time. "The camera," I said. "Behind the cookbooks. It has been running for 4 days. She lowered her hand. Neil held up his phone. "And Ted's emails, 2021. Gloria, before you moved in." Before any of this started, she sat down in one of the kitchen chairs slowly, like her legs had decided before the rest of her. For a moment, she just stared at the table. Then she started to cry. I want to be honest about this part too. The tears looked real. I think they were real. It didn't change anything, but I think she was genuinely sorry in that moment, or at least sorry that it had gotten to this point. "I owe $180,000 from the divorce settlement," she said. Her voice was flat, like she was reading from something. "I couldn't pay it. Ted said if we could get power of attorney, if you two needed full-time care, we could work something out with the house and the investments. He said it would only take a few months." "A few months," I said. She flinched. "Your mother couldn't remember Tyler's name. That is not a few months, Gloria." She didn't answer that. I reached into my jacket and set the sealed plastic bag on the table between us. The original tablets, labeled, dated. I have the pills. I have 4 days of footage from the kitchen. I have the emails. Tomorrow morning I have a meeting with Louis Aldridge. I watched her face. He's an attorney. He specializes in elder abuse cases. She closed her eyes. What I didn't tell her that night, what I hadn't told anyone yet, was something I had figured out that same afternoon while sitting at my workbench going over my notes. For the past few months I'd been waking up with headaches I blamed on stress. I'd been forgetting small things at work, words I should have known, names that wouldn't come. I'd had a metallic taste in my coffee some mornings that I'd told myself was the water filter needing a change. I had made a list of every time Gloria had handed me something to drink in the last 6 months. Coffee in the morning when she got up before me, a glass of water in the evening, the occasional beer she'd bring out when I was in the garage. Every single one. I hadn't said anything to Neil yet. I didn't want to alarm him before I had confirmation, but the next morning I drove to St. Mary's and asked Dr. Garrett to run a full blood panel. He called me back the same afternoon. "Martin," he said, and the way he said my name told me everything before the next word. "The results show diazepam metabolites in your blood. 2 to 3 milligrams daily for approximately 5 to 6 months. It's in your system too." I sat in the parking lot of the medical center and looked at my hands on the steering wheel for a long time. My daughter had been poisoning both of us. I sat in that parking lot for maybe 20 minutes. Then I drove home, walked into the kitchen, and told Neil. He didn't say anything for a while, just sat at the table with his hands flat on the surface, looking at nothing. "Both of you," he finally said, "both of us. While you were trying to save Mom, she was doing the same thing to you." That's the part that still gets me when I think about it. I had spent weeks focused entirely on Carolyn, watching every pill, every glass of water, every small sign of improvement. And the whole time, every cup of coffee Gloria handed me in the morning, every glass of water in the evening, she had been running the same play on me. Slower, smaller doses, enough to cloud things gradually. Enough that by the time anyone noticed, I would have looked just like Carolyn. 2 confused elderly parents who needed full-time care, a house worth more than either of us could manage. A daughter with power of attorney, and a boyfriend who knew exactly what to do with real estate. The next morning I called Louis Aldridge and moved our meeting up. His office smelled like old books and leather. He was 58, silver at the temples, the kind of man who had heard enough bad stories that nothing surprised him anymore, but he still took them seriously. I laid out everything on his conference table, the photographs, the sealed bags with the original tablets, the printed research from the library, the camera footage. Neil's forwarded emails from Ted Rourke going back to 2021. Dr. Garrett's blood test results for both me and Carolyn. Aldridge went through it without interrupting. When he finished, he looked up and said, "This constitutes elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and depending on how the prosecution reads the dosage timeline, possibly attempted murder." For both victims, he asked if I was prepared for what came next. I told him yes. He looked at me the way people look at you when they want to believe you but aren't entirely sure. Then he started making calls. Detective Diane Reyes handled the case out of the Thurston County Sheriff's Department. She was thorough and quiet and didn't waste words. She told me later that the emails from Ted Rourke were what sealed it. He had left a paper trail that read like a business plan, because to him that's exactly what it was. Ted was arrested on a Wednesday morning. Gloria turned herself in the following day. I didn't watch either arrest. I was home with Carolyn. The trial was 3 weeks later. I sat in the courtroom with Neil on one side and Carolyn on the other. Carolyn wore the blue dress from our 40th anniversary. I hadn't asked her to. She'd chosen it herself, and I didn't say anything when I saw it, just squeezed her hand. Dr. Garrett testified first. Clinical, precise, impossible to argue with. He walked the jury through both blood test results and the dosage timelines. He explained what veterinary diazepam does to the human brain over months and years. He used the word systematic 3 times. Each time, I watched a juror write something down. Then Carolyn took the stand. She sat up straight and spoke clearly and didn't look at her notes once. She described the 4 years she had lost, the morning she woke up not knowing what month it was. The afternoon she couldn't remember her grandson Tyler's name and stood in the hallway and cried because she knew she should know it and couldn't reach it. The crossword puzzles she used to finish in ink sitting blank on the table. The books she loved that stopped making sense. The feeling, she said, of being locked inside a room in your own mind and not being able to find the door. The courtroom was completely quiet. I looked at Gloria while Carolyn spoke, watched her look at her hands in her lap. I don't know what was going through her mind. I don't know if I want to. The defense tried to lay some of it on Ted, said Gloria had been manipulated, that she hadn't understood what she was doing, that she was a victim herself in some ways. There was probably some truth in that. Ted Rourke was the one who had planned it from the beginning, who had researched our family, who had coached her through it. But Gloria had made choices too. She had made them every evening when she stood in that kitchen and sorted those pills with that small, satisfied smile on her face. The jury was out for less than a day. Gloria got 8 years. Ted Rourke got 11. Marlene Cross, the woman connected to Ted through a network of prior elder fraud cases in California, got 12. As they led Gloria out of the courtroom, she turned and found my face. She said she was sorry. Just those words quietly across the room. I nodded. I meant it as something I can't fully explain. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Not rejection either. More like acknowledgement that we were both still here and that 8 years is a long time, and what happens after that is something neither of us can know yet. Carolyn finished the crossword book last week. She started a new one. She makes breakfast most mornings now and remembers where everything is without asking. She laughs at things on TV and then tells me about them later, which means she's tracking and retaining and connecting all the things she couldn't do for 4 years. This morning she asked me quietly, while we were having coffee, "Do you think Gloria's going to be okay?" I didn't have an answer. I told her I didn't know. She nodded and looked out the window, and we sat together for a while without talking. If you take one thing from this, take this. When something feels off inside your own home, don't argue yourself out of it. Don't assume the person with the kind face and the careful routine deserves your trust just because they always have. Ask questions. Look closer. Document what you see before you say a word to anyone. I spent 38 years finding hidden faults in structures before they failed. I almost missed the most important one I ever needed to find. If something in your gut is telling you something isn't right, listen to it. That instinct has kept people alive a lot longer than trusting the wrong person has.